Nobel Prize winner Bob Dylan and the Devil at the Crossroads. As of October 13, 2016, Bob Dylan can add one more trophy to his impressive worldly accolades: Nobel laureate. Dylan was just awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature and hailed for having created new poetic expressions within the great American song tradition. Dylan has been dubbed the world's greatest living poet, the inventor of folk rock, and the most important figure in pop culture history. Rolling Stone magazine called Dylan's song, Like a Rolling Stone, the #1 song of all time. Bob Dylan sang in his song, "Gotta serve somebody." Well, it may be the devil or it may be the Lord, but you're gonna have to serve somebody. It doesn't take long, when examining the spiritual decisions Dylan made to become rich and famous, to discern on the basis of his own confession, he is not serving the Lord, but the devil. Dylan leaves little to the imagination as to who he is serving when asked by Ed Bradley of 60 Minutes, why he is still out there performing after all these years, 5 decades now. Dylan gives a chilling answer regarding a bargain he made with an invisible spiritual entity that he feels he must keep. Dylan, well, it goes back to that destiny thing. You know, I made a bargain with it, you know, long time ago. I'm holding up my end. Bradley, what was your bargain? Dylan, get where I am now. Bradley, should I ask who you made the bargain with? Dylan, with the chief, you know, the chief commander. Bradley, on this earth? Dylan, this earth, and the world we can't see. Dylan is acutely aware that there is a spiritual world of wicked spirits that Satan leads. The Apostle Paul warned, "Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places." Ephesians 6 verses 11 to 12. This idea of consciously surrendering one's eternal soul to Satan in exchange for fame and fortune has been rife in pop music since its inception. In our eye-popping video Expose, They Sold Their Souls for Rock and Roll, we document the occult history of pop music and reveal admissions by top artists from John Lennon, Jim Morrison and Jimi Hendrix to Prince, Madonna and Michael Jackson regarding issues ranging from channeling songs, spiritism, Satanism, selling one's soul and demonic possession. In our upcoming and highly anticipated video update, now in production, we expose the same occult phenomena and messaging among today's top artists from Katy Perry, Kanye West, Jay-Z, Kesha, Rihanna and Drake to Ariana Grande, Selena Gomez and Beyoncé, and many more. While Bob Dylan's admission on 60 Minutes to having made a bargain with the unseen entity that rules the wicked world is more common than most people know, Jesus resisted a far greater temptation from the evil one. Satan offered Jesus worldly power over the nations of the world in exchange for Jesus' worship, but Jesus rebuked Satan and declared, "Be gone, Satan. For it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God and him only shall you serve." Matthew 4 verses 1 to 11. 3 times Jesus referred to Satan as the ruler of the fallen world system, John 12 verse 31, 14 verse 30, 16:11, and the Apostle Paul referred to him as the God of this world, 2 Corinthians 4 verses 3 to 4, who works through the children of disobedience, to guide the course of this world. Ephesians 2 verses 1 to 2. Dylan at the Crossroads. In the early 1960s Dylan, aspiring to become the next big rock star like Elvis Presley, was devoid of any formal musical training. Dylan couldn't sing, wasn't writing songs and was a subpar guitar player. However, like the legendary bluesman, Robert Johnson, who sang "Me and the Devil, Walkin' Side by Side," and who claimed he sold his soul to the devil at the crossroads, Dylan also claimed that he went to the crossroads and came back a different man. Dylan stated, "That's when I went to the crossroads and made a big deal. You know, like show, you know. One night, and then, went back to Minneapolis, and it was like, hey, where's this guy been? You know, he been to the crossroads." Richard Grossinger, The Bardo of Waking Life, Berkeley, California, North Atlantic Books, 2008. While Dylan was not speaking literally about going to where Highway 49 intersects with Highway 61 in Clarksdale, Mississippi, where Robert Johnson reportedly surrendered to Satan for musical prowess. He was speaking of his own spiritually transformative Crossroads experience, which yielded the same diabolical effect. While Dylan has paid homage to Robert Johnson by playing Eric Clapton's cover of Johnson's Crossroads live, and even titled an album Highway 61 Revisited, Dylan's Crossroads experience took place when he briefly left Minneapolis for Greenwich Village. Dylan left Minneapolis a struggling and uninspiring musician and returned a man possessed, manifesting musical gifts and lyricism that were previously far beyond his own musical ability. In Martin Scorsese's film No Direction Home, John Buckland, Dylan's schoolboy friend, talks about Dylan's return to St. Paul, Minneapolis after his first trip to New York in 1961. He was playing at some party or something, and it was like a whole different guy. You hear those stories about the blues men who go out to the crossroads and sell their soul to the devil and come back all of a sudden able to do stuff, Robert Johnson, Tommy Johnson, that whole mythology. It was one of those kind of deals, almost. When he left Minneapolis he was just average. There were 5, 6 other guys doing the same thing. When he came back, he was doing Woody and he was doing Van Ronk and he was fingerpicking, he was playing cross harp, and this is a matter of a couple of months. I mean, this is not like he was gone a year or anything. No Direction Home, Martin Scorsese, 2005. In the same film, fellow musician Liam Clancy shares his eyewitness account of Dylan's remarkable transformation from the musically ordinary Robert Zimmerman to Bob Dylan. In old Irish mythology, they talk about shape changers. Dylan changed voices. He changed images. It wasn't really necessary for him to be a definitive person. He was a receiver. He was possessed, ibid. Dylan not only went through a radical makeover of his person and image and suddenly excelled on various instruments, but he apparently picked up a demon that used his body as a vessel to help usher in the countercultural revolution of the 1960s. A revolution that introduced millions of young people to occultism, blasphemy, Eastern mysticism, sexual perversion, moral decline, and illicit drug use. Bob Dylan logo. It is clear from a number of interviews with Dylan through the years that he himself doesn't understand some of his own lyrics, and that a spiritual entity he gives credit to has helped him along the way. In an interview conducted by Karen Hughes, she asked Dylan if he wrote like a medium, and he told her that his compositions were not coming from him, but it's just coming through him, and that a melody just happens to appear, and the words come in and out. He went on to tell Hughes that sometimes, I've written songs in 5 minutes complete, source. In the same 60 Minutes interview where Dylan admitted he felt bound to fulfill the youthful bargain he made with an invisible entity, Dylan explained that he can no longer write songs like his early ones, and that they were beyond his own writing ability, and were given to him through a penetrating magic. They were all, those early songs, they were almost magically written, darkness at the break of noon, shadows, even the silver spoon, the handmade blade, the child's balloon, eclipses both the sun and moon, to understand you know too soon, there is no sense in trying, well, try to sit down and write something like that. There's a magic to that, and it's not Siegfried and Roy kind of magic, you know, it's a different kind of penetrating magic. Source. Dylan changed his name from Zimmerman to Dylan, owing to the influence of Dylan Thomas. In Bob Dylan's memoir, he admits that he had been influenced by Dylan Thomas. Dylan Thomas claimed that his greatest influence was Victor Newberg, a master occultist who himself was one of Satanist Aleister Crowley's most prominent disciples. Newberg was the first to bring Dylan Thomas to prominence and published his first works. Crowley, born into privilege, was a self-proclaimed antichrist who signed his name on letters, the Beast 666, and was appropriately dubbed the wickedest man in the world, in the early 19th century. Crowley, a Satanist organizer, often used magic as an excuse to exercise his homosexual and sadistic tendencies and performed homosexual, sex magic on Newberg, which included whipping him with a bundle of nettles and drawing blood with 32 lashes using a switch. These magical workings were said to have eventually opened up Newburgh more and more to the demonic realm that both he and Crowley served. Crowley claimed that he was being used by Satan, who he also identified as I was, to usher in the age of Antichrist, which he called the Age of Horus, symbolized by the hawk-headed Egyptian god Horus. Crowley stated that this new satanic age would replace Christianity and wrote in his Book of the Law, via automatic writing, "With my hawk's head I peck at the eyes of Jesus as he hangs upon the cross." Bob Dylan's official logo, shown above earlier in this article, features the Eye of Horus at the bottom. This symbol was used by Crowley as one of the emblems for the coming new aeon of Antichrist/Horus. Incidentally, both Dylan and Crowley made the front cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album. Click image at left for larger view. Dylan would also show his affinity for the occult by depicting the occult tarot card of the Empress on the back of his album Desire. While it appears that Dylan made at least a feeble attempt to escape the hellhounds on his trail by making a short stint where he claimed to have become a Christian, even writing songs reflecting this claim, he would later tell Kurt Loder of Rolling Stone magazine, "I've never said I'm born again." In response to Loder's question as to whether he belonged to a church, Dylan stated, "Not really. The Church of the Poison Mind."